Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection. Have you ever thought, why can't I do simple things everyone else seems to handle? My guest today is taking those quiet, frustrating thoughts so many of us carry and turn them into art that makes millions feel understood. This is a conversation about ADHD, identity, creativity, and what happens when you realize you are never broken, just wired differently. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage, and let's learn more about her. See you there, everyone.
I wanna believe in the truth, but only see what I'm shown. Got the freedom to choose, but can't decide on my own. Follow what the group is thinking, bottle up my intuition till it's popping up.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection. Today, I'm joined with the very own Dani Donovan, the creator of the Anti-Planner. Welcome to the show, Dani.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So now, let's start off with, before ADHD had a language in your life, what did your world feel like from the inside?
That is such a good question. Uh, Confusing and chaotic definitely are two words that I would use to describe it. Isolating, uh, wild, and some of it was just getting me in trouble all the time for things I didn't understand why I was getting in trouble for asking questions. And especially as a kid, like authority figures, I went to Catholic school and they don't like when you ask lots and lots of say questions. So I was getting demerits all the time. And so I from a very young age was kind of getting these messages that's like, this is how we've always done things. Don't ask why because I don't want to, especially with I think adults, if adults are like, I don't want to, um, I guess that's what kind of made me successful as a, business person now is making a product that says, we've been doing this one way for such a long time. Why can't there be something different? So it's interesting that a lot of those kind of tendencies are still here, but I find that growing up, the biggest things that I didn't have was like a reason. People just thought I was making excuses for everything. And so being able to eventually kind of find that language so that I could feel understood made all the difference.
I mean, that reminds me of a story. I mean, one of the things that really sticks in my head is the fact that schools aren't equipped for people like us who are neurodivergent. They don't know how our brains operate. They don't know how we think. I mean, and like I said, my story is from a friend of mine who told me he went to take a community college class in something, and they're teaching him how to do it one way, and he's doing it another, and they're like, no, 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 you got to do it our way, and he's like, why? When I
Yeah.
can do it this way and still get to the solution. And he's like, at that point, it wasn't worth arguing. He just dropped the class.
I feel that in my bones. I got a C in marketing in high school, which I was ridiculous because I was like this way of marketing I think would really work because I have a very like meta sense of humor
Mhm.
and but it wasn't what was in the book. Wasn't for projects and stuff. Like I could pass all the tests just fine. But the projects like were not doing things the exact same way as some of this other stuff. And so I was not getting the best grades. And it's hilarious now because having, made something and done all of the marketing and it having done well, I'm like, see, I knew it.
Mhm.
Y'all didn't, listen. But I think that we find ourselves, in those boxes a lot of the time of that this is how it's always been done and the difficulty that we have with fitting in because a lot of fitting in is sit down, shut up, and don't ask questions.
Mhm. I mean, that kind of reminds me of a story of myself of when I was in high school, I took a typing class. And back then, we were already using computers. And my teacher got mad at me because I was using the backspace key to erase my mistakes. And she's like, don't do that. And I'm like, why? That's what the backspace key is for. It's like the instant whiteout for the new modern age. And she's like, no, we're trying to teach you not to use the backspace to correct your mistakes. That comes later. I'm like, I've already used a computer. I know how to type on a computer. And so she kicked me out of the class.
What were you supposed to do? Just leave them there?
I don't know, but she got upset because I was using it way ahead of, and that's how my mind
Oh,
works.
you were going like ahead of the
I'm
lessons.
always ahead of the lesson because
Yeah.
I always think 2 steps ahead.
Yep. Yeah, you're like, I'm solving problems before I even, like, you've even told me that they're problems. And I think that a lot of us do kind of do that because of the pattern recognition. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, clearly this is what's gonna happen next. And I do remember like, uh, don't work ahead. You saying that just like unlocked some core memory for me of getting in trouble for like finishing things quickly and then moving on to the next thing. It's like, no, 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 don't do that. And I'm like, but I already know what I'm supposed to do. The instructions are right here. Why do I have to wait? And so in fifth grade, my mom had asked my teacher, do you think Danny could have ADHD? And it was like, she can't have ADHD. She's too smart, which, okay, that's definitely how that works. But she goes, she's, distracting others because I kept finishing my work quicker. And so they gave me additional homework, like like extra, my gift for being fast was congratulations, you get more work. I don't, and then I suddenly stopped trying as hard because I was like, well, this is BS. Like, I don't want to have to do this. And so I guess I'll slow down for the sake of like not having to do more. But it's just a matter of like teachers not knowing how to handle me, not knowing what to do when somebody doesn't fit the mold.
I mean, that's exactly like what happened with me in high school is my parents kept getting calls that I wasn't sitting still. I
Yeah.
wasn't focusing. I was looking all over the place, but at the blackboard and the teacher. And then one day they get a call. Oh, he is sitting still for one class only, general science.
That he's interested in.
Yeah. And they're like, wow, so only one class out of everything here is holding his interest. And you're like, okay, there's got to be something wrong. And back in the day, like you said, we knew nothing about ADHD.
Hmm.
It was, he had a learning disability. And then later in life came ADHD. And then, oh, let's put him on medicine.
Hmm.
And then let's take him off medicine because long-term effects.
I found that like meds were one or just like one piece of the puzzle. I feel like a lot of people say that. Um, and they helped me so much, at least for me. I didn't get diagnosed till college. When I was like a freshman, and my life was starting to fall apart because I was very good at school and very bad at adulting, at laundry and feeding myself and managing all of the things that go along with like taking care of yourself. Uh, in addition, you don't realize that when you move out from your parents, you have to parent yourself. And I was not ready to be doing that. I'm like, I'm not ready to be a parent. And so I know how to be a student. Those things have deadlines. Laundry doesn't have a deadline. And so I found myself in, oh my God, I had a reason for telling this story. I'm so sorry. My brain goes this direction and then it's like, wait, I have to give you all of the context before that. But I think that mainly finding out that there was oh my God, I swear to God, I don't remember what I was talking about. I'm so sorry. What was the last thing you said? If you remember.
I was talking about how schools and don't how when I was taking typing class that the teacher was mad at me for using the backspace key.
Oh yeah, and getting working ahead. So I think that there's when you get to college though, at least for me, oh, I remember the meds thing. It was easier because I was in more classes that I was interested in since they were classes towards a major. And I was still struggling with the ones I didn't, have interest in, but meds were one piece of the puzzle. But they were the only puzzle. There was like the only puzzle piece I had. I had one puzzle piece, which did not, I still don't have the whole, puzzle and nobody gives you the box to know what it's supposed to look like. But I didn't realize that just that wasn't going to be enough. I wasn't talking to anybody about having ADHD. I wasn't doing any kind of introspection to realize what things in my life that I was struggling with were because of my ADHD. I was still blaming myself for stuff and like beating myself up and crying because I was mad at myself all the time. It's like, I don't want to be doing this. Why do I keep doing this to myself? And that's what a disorder like is. And so it wasn't until I got like some talk therapy, and I found like Jessica McCabe's YouTube channel, and saw her video about why like showering is hard, and was just bawling my face off over these simple videos that just gave me permission to step back and be like, oh, I'm not a failure as a person. You
Mm.
mean that this is difficult because it's
Mhm.
boring? And this is, this can, all of these things that I had been angry at myself about all had a reason. And so being able to step back and find out how to look at struggles and ask myself, could this be my ADHD? And if it is, what part of my ADHD? And then being able to address that problem instead of thinking that like I am the problem all the time.
I mean, that's why when I went away to college for my master's, I never told anybody I had autism except for my disability advisor. And the funny thing was, as time went on, the people I became friends with slowly realized there is something wrong. I'm different than all of them. And it's like he's trying so hard and he's saying things he shouldn't say. And my friends realized maybe we should help him. And I remember after I graduated, one of my friends sent me a message one day and we're talking back and forth. And when she, out of the blue, she goes, "Can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Sure." She goes, "Are you autistic?" And my mouth just dropped. And I'm like,
How'd she know?
"How did you know?" Yeah. And I'm like, she's like, "Well, part of my psychology program was I was working with younger kids who were autistic and you have some of the traits." And it
It's
just
fun.
blew my mind is how people can pick up these traits. But
Hmm.
like you were saying, when I was in college, I had no help. I was always trying to be two steps ahead and I was kind of falling behind. And I was beating myself up. Why?
It's interesting as an adult, even like I'm really glad that we kind of stumbled into the two steps ahead train of like thought
Yeah.
because I've been talking to someone on my team about how I was struggling to fill out this form to talk to somebody about like now that I run a company, I need to talk to somebody about potentially switching healthcare plans and and there was this form that they've got before I schedule a consultation, and there are questions on it about like tell me about your situation, and it's complicated, and I was struggling like knowing what to say because this is also like a paid consultation and it's only 30 minutes and I talk a lot. And so I'm like, okay, I need to like make sure that I'm giving the context in the background, but I don't know how to phrase it and I don't know how to do this and I don't have the answers to this. And I talked to someone about what I was struggling with and they go, you don't have to tell her everything. And I'm like, no, but I do because I'm pre-anticipating the me rambling and then using up all the time and not getting advice, part of this call because of the pattern recognition. And I go, but she's going to ask me about this and this and this, and I don't have the answers. So until I find the answers, I can't do this. And she was like, you are like uncertain about how to answer questions that she has not asked you yet.
Yes. Oh my God.
And then it's
Oh
causing
my
avoidance.
God. I've learned there's a term for that. It's called anticipatory anxiety
Oh my God, I need to write that down.
because I had a guy on my show a long time back and he's got OCD.
I have that
Called he's
also.
called OCD dad. And I told him about that. He's like, it's called anticipatory anxiety because you're over anticipating what's going to happen before it even happens.
Yikes. Yeah, I have some OCD issues too. So I did just write that down. I will be researching it immediately after this
I
call.
mean, I
Thank you.
mean,
There's
and
nothing I love more than finding out that there's like a term for an experience.
yeah,
And I think that that's one of the things that has happened so much, especially with this community, like
yeah.
finding out, that like rejection sensitivity. It's like, oh, this experience I have kind of like has
Hmm.
a label, and to people are like, oh, you need labels for everything. I'm like, labels are helpful
Oh
when it
yeah.
is something that feels ethereal and like does not have a can't pinpoint what it is.
Mm.
And oh my God, I was talking last night with my stepson. He's 12, and he was making some joke about how like Newton he's like discovering gravity. The first person who like fell off a mountain discovered gravity. Like, oh, discovering. It's like no, somebody's got to give things like a name. Somebody's got to
Hmm.
like even if you can know that something is true until you are able to verbalize it, it is just like it exists, but it doesn't have, it's not like realized. It's not a thing that we can talk about. And so I think that having things like anticipatory anxiety or rejection sensitivity or, what some of the like just fun ones that aren't, like, they're not medical terms, like
Yeah.
revenge bedtime procrastination is not a medical term, but it is an experience that
Yeah.
now when I say that, people, can know what it is that is being talked about, and then that conversation can go from there rather than trying to explain the concept and hopefully, getting it across right.
I mean, one of the greatest examples of that is I went to a podcast conference and I'm all nervous and everything. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm just gonna be this little wallflower, not talk to anybody. No one's gonna come talking to me. I get there and it's like I'm just this big bundle of energy and I'm talking to everybody, going, "Hey, are you a podcaster? Or are you a sponsor? Or who are you?" And then I remember this was in Vegas, and then at the elevator, I say at the end of the day, we're all waiting for our elevators, and I just crack this joke and go, "Okay, everybody, put down your bets. Which elevator door is going to open first?" And then everyone just broke into laughter, and it's like, "Oh my God, I'm like this talking machine. I'm talking to everybody, talking to the vendors, and talking to everyone." And it's like, "Oh my God!" And
I
then I
love
come
that
home.
though when you're like, oh, I'm on a roll, like I'm on
Yeah,
fire. There's nothing that's like more fun than making like a group of people laugh.
yeah. But the worst experience I got was I had to get teeth pulled, and I told my dentist I need to be put out for it because I had to have two
Yep.
wisdom teeth pulled
Oh
and
wow,
another
yeah.
broken tooth. And I'm all nervous about everything and everything and this. And my mom keeps going to me, "You're not gonna get it pulled right away. You're gonna have to do something first. You're gonna have to have a consultation first to figure out what's going on with you and everything." And then in my mind, I'm like, "No, no, no, no. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it." I get there and I walk up and the woman behind the desk goes, I go, when are they gonna pull my teeth and put me on?" She's like, "Honey, no, they're not gonna do that right now. They gotta do a consultation first." And then all of a sudden, all the feeling in my hands come back. I go from feeling calm and sweaty to feeling warm. I'm like,
Yeah.
my mom's like, "See, I told you."
Oh my God. I think that uh the experiences that we have of like just imagining how bad things are going to be, because now, especially with the anti-planner, like figuring out what is causing avoidance and what, and there's often like there is a train of thought that goes
Yeah,
along with it. It's not just like there is no reasonless procrastination. Procrastination always comes from somewhere, and that or avoidance, or because you at least were there. To me, it's
yeah.
like getting yourself in a situation where you're even able to like overcome that fear, to overcome that anxiety of I'm convinced that this is going to happen, and get there to even find out that that's not the case is challenging.
Now, when you look back, what do you understand about the version of yourself that you didn't then?
Whew. Um, a lot of my struggles were actually with like like I would say social situations, not because um I didn't know how to act in social situations so
Mhm.
much as I had a difficult time keeping friends.
Mhm.
Because I am very good at making friends, but like relationship maintenance is a type of maintenance. And I now can see as an adult, maintenance is very hard because it does not give quite as many, brain chemicals, I think, car maintenance, house maintenance, relationship maintenance, um, you know, home maintenance, like all of these things that are just like upkeep versus getting a new thing or dealing with like some sort of big problem. And I struggled because I've kept feeling like, oh, I have friends, I have this group, I have people I get along with. And within groups, it's like, and then suddenly there was something that would happen and nobody would tell me what. And it felt like something clicked and everybody thought I was annoying. And now I was someone to pick on. And so
Mhm.
then I ended up in situations where I was getting bullied by friends. And we, a lot of times like we give each other shit, like we don't, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't ask if it's okay to cuss on this.
No, you can. It's fine.
Okay. And I didn't clock at first that nobody else was like I couldn't make fun of anybody else, but everybody could make fun of me. And that is not okay. And it happened, kind of frog in a boiling pot style, until you start talking to someone else about it and they're like, that's not okay. That's not, I would say normal, but it's still difficult to kind of like get myself out of those sometimes like toxic situations. It depends on who it is. And again, things are not black and white, and it's not like people are, oh, these people are like bad people. Like absolutely not. But it's one where being the subject of gossip is very challenging. Being the subject of anybody like making fun of me, especially anything for being like annoying, is challenging. And so, um, being able to, as an adult, step back and see kind of that it is what it is, and a lot of that is being misunderstood. Like it's still the same, it's kind of the same, I would say, answer
Mhm.
as earlier, which is so much of my ADHD experience revolves around people not understanding me. And so that's why I love doing what I do, and I'm sure you love doing what you do, is like helping people understand
Mhm.
themselves better is really rewarding. And it also helps me understand myself better in the process. So it's like a
Mhm.
win-win.
Now, was there a stretch where you were trying so hard and it just and you felt behind?
Yeah, freshman year of college when I got diagnosed was pretty rough. Right now is also really hard because I am at the point with my book, The Anti-Planner, How to Get Shit Done When You Don't Feel Like It, was so much fun to make. Right, it's like 100 over 100 strategies of how to do stuff, but making it was fun, designing it was fun, writing it was fun, illustrating it was fun. Self-publishing it was hard, but like was a new challenge. And now is like maintenance. And I've told a couple people this. It's like, okay, I had a baby and I kind of like didn't think about the fact that you have to like raise a baby and it just gets like harder to deal with as it gets older. And, well, not always, but anyways, different type of challenging. But it doesn't go away. It's like it exists in the world and it's going to keep existing. And I can't just go make another thing. I have to help because I self-published. I have to take care of this thing and figure out how to get this thing with legs and standing and walking on its own. And that's not as fun because I don't have a business background and I'm not passionate about business. But I also care so much about authenticity and like over delivering that like it's challenging to give up that control to somebody else and say like, okay, well, I'll just let you have the business and then I'll go make stuff. Like that requires so much trust. And I'm still
Mhm.
kind of at the point in my career where I'm trying to learn how to make time to do the things that I'm good at that bring me joy and still be able to sort of like function. But when you're handling a lot of stuff, when you've got stuff going on in your personal life, um, it can be so challenging to feel like you're staying afloat. And on top of that, now I get imposter syndrome because I like wrote a book about getting stuff done. And so if I'm not getting stuff done, like and I remember I have the book, then I like, and I do, and I take it out and I do stuff. But one of the things I'll say for right now, at least, and I have new sections for future iterations that I'm planning on doing. And one of them is like time blind and routineless because I found out that the thing that I'm struggling with right now is just straight up time management. And I've tried different time management techniques and I struggle with them. And now the big challenge is okay, well, when I was struggling with things before, I made it into a game to invent new ways of like, how do I solve this problem in a way that works for me? And so, like, using yourself as a little guinea pig. And so, now that I've sort of been able to identify that problem, I'm working towards what does it look like to focus all of my time and energy and attention on how am I going to get better at time management. So that's sort of where I'm at right now, but it's currently challenging because again, the time management for things I'm not interested in, like dealing with finance. Like I don't want to go to the finance meeting. Like I don't want to go to I don't want to talk to vendors. I don't want to talk about my trademarks in China. Like I don't, that's not fun. I want to draw stuff. But anyways, so freshman year of college and right now, I would say are pretty challenging.
I mean, I feel you with the imposter syndrome. When I first started, I did not think anyone would listen to them. And the voice, as you know, that you get that voice in your head that goes, no one's going to read your book. No one's going to listen to your podcast. And you're just like, oh God, okay. Is this going to be real? Who's going to listen to me? I'm just some nobody who's did this. And all of a sudden you start seeing, for you, you start seeing your book sales. And for me, it's the numbers. And it's like, wow, I'm not an imposter. People are actually taking me seriously.
And then that creates pressure, at least for
Yeah.
me, where for me, I felt like I did pre-orders for the book and I got about 40,000 pre-orders. So I did know that there was a audience for it. But it was one where, again, like that created pressure. And now that it's out and it's got, it's got like a 4.9 star rating, but it sold over 100,000 copies. And now there's pressure. It's like, okay, well, when I do put something new out there, I'm not going to top this. Like what? And if I'm not going to top this, then why do, say that, why do anything? But like being able to get better is a big motivating factor. And if it feels like I came out the gate with something strong, it's challenging because I don't want to disappoint people and I don't want to disappoint myself. And so it's much easier to just be like, doing stuff behind the scenes rather than like put out something imperfect.
I know about that. I mean, I wrote a book, and right now it's waiting for a publisher. And my best friend, who's an author, says that's the fun part, writing it. Now it's the other fun part, getting it picked up. I'm like, how is that fun? You sit there
Yeah.
waiting.
The sarcasm, right?
I hope so, because I mean, he's a best-selling author and everything, and I'm like, you do realize now I'm sitting here waiting for a publisher to pick up my book. And I'm wondering if it's good enough.
Yeah. The am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Am I um and it's difficult because you look at other people who say that you're like, of course you are enough. I am just the one who's not enough. Like,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I look at all these guests I've had on my show who have books besides you, and I'm like, okay, how did they get their book published? Is it self-published? Did they go through an author or publisher? And if they did, how did they get a publisher? And then it's like, you go through this whole rabbit hole. Why me?
yeah. And so many people are like, you gotta know somebody who knows somebody. And so, but then if you don't know somebody, it's
It's
like,
hot
well, now what?
because I mean, like Jessica knows, it's if you got the huge following, they come looking for you. It's now
Yeah.
how many people you have on your platform.
Yeah. And I will say that it's extra, I would say I got pretty big pretty fast with my comics because my first comic like went viral, which is the ADHD storytelling one. And but th this is in 2018, and so there weren't like ADHD comic artists uh really like in that way yet. And so the lane was like wide open and there weren't, hundreds or thousands of ADHD content like creators. And so now I think for everybody it's challenging to like
Mhm.
stand out as there's more saturation. But at the same time, I'm like so happy that it is a area that has so many voices, so many people sharing their experiences, so many educators sharing
Oh yeah.
information, but it does make it challenging to grow kind of in the same way that it used to.
Now, what did that all do to your confidence?
It's I actually got to a point where kind of stopped caring so much about like my followers, and my following count, because I realized that at a certain point, the more you get, the more there's like a sweet spot, I think, for not getting so big that you have like a bunch of haters. And
Hmm.
not the bigger you get, the more people there are who are going to form, who are, say like negative opinions of you. And I'm like, I think I'd rather have a smaller group of people who really, really like me than people who really, really like me, and then a bunch of people who are like lukewarm but happen to follow me, and then people who like don't like me. And so um, and also it's like very, I don't know. Anyways, so like that was difficult. The big thing now, though, is the algorithms like were what sold the book for so long. The organic posts, the viral bangers, are what I was able to sell the book without having to spend money on advertising, which was amazing. But it was one where I didn't realize that like that's putting your eggs in in baskets that you don't control. And so Twitter was like bread and butter. I was having huge tweets that were taking off, and I was commenting underneath them. Like, I don't have a SoundCloud, but if you struggle with this, you'll probably like my book. And then like Elon bought Twitter, and it just like tanked.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was like this rude awakening of like, okay, well, I got to do other stuff. And then with TikTok, it was like I was having some TikTok things take off. And then, things were slowing down and you pay for ads. And TikTok realizes once you give us money, we're never going to, just give you why would we give you an organic viral hit when we could make you pay for views? And so now it's at this like challenging thing where as a creator, I am stretched for time,
Mhm.
but when I do make content, it's like feel like this need to like make content that sells the book that can help provide money to pay the people who help me with things instead of just like making content because I love making content. That's what I used to do was like use it as a distraction from work. And as soon as it becomes work, then it's like, oh, well, now it's not as fun because I feel like I have to do it.
Now, what do you think people misunderstand about the part of ADHD?
Whew. Um, I really think that the emotional dysregulation component gets overlooked so much. And like that's what I kind of did with the anti-planner, which is breaking it up into different, emotional roadblocks because procrastination is an emotional thing. It's not a character defect thing. Like a lot of people think it's just, oh, you're just lazy and you just need to try harder. And the reality being, there's all these negative emotions just like buried underneath of like I feel intimidated or I feel um, you know, like hopeless or I feel, distracted. And they are not all just simply, I would say even like ADHD symptoms. People don't realize that like perfectionism is so typical in I think a lot of neurodivergent people because that fear it's fueled by a fear of criticism. It's like anxiety and fear in a tuxedo is what perfectionism, can feel like. And the emotional dysregulation that comes with I'm so distracted because my coworker made a comment and now I can't stop thinking about that comment and I can't focus on my work because I cannot stop thinking that everyone is talking about me and that rumination that comes along with it because of the emotional dysregulation I think doesn't get quite as much spotlight as it probably could.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your ADHD. When ADHD entered the picture, what changed internally?
So I would say that I got again diagnosed freshman year of college, and when I went in for depression to see someone about depression, and the psychiatric like nurse practitioner I had talked to heard how fast I was talking and was like, "Hey, has anyone talked to you about ADHD?" And I remember at that time being like, "No, oh my God, I don't want to have that," because I had this preconceived notion that like everyone I knew who had ADHD was like a hyper little boy who like didn't have friends, which was like the very unfortunate like stereotype that I had in my head. And I remember not wanting that label. And she handed me the checklist of all the stuff on it. And I read the symptom list and went, oh no. And she disclosed that she had ADHD and that she clocked me because she recognized herself in me. And I had this sort of like aha moment of like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's not all just, I would say like one thing. And maybe I've been really, I mean, I'm like 19 and I don't know anything. But maybe I have an answer
Hmm.
and finding that answer that allows for that shame reduction again where you can stop thinking of things as like a personal defect and start focusing on what the issue is objectively versus what the issue is as me and I am the issue all the time.
Now, what did you finally forgive yourself for?
The I would say expectations are like expectations to find a magic tool that suddenly is going to make everything easy and me to be neurotypical, right? Like I was just
Hmm.
searching for that silver bullet for so long and in doing so was setting myself up for failure after failure after failure after failure of of hating myself when I couldn't stick to a system. And I finally had to step back and go, I need to expect myself to stop doing things. What if I built that into the plan? Because if it happens, I'm not surprised. And I'm not going to feel angry and ashamed because I knew it was going to happen. And I was okay with knowing it was going to happen when I started. And like that was such a big game changer for me, was like planning, um, okay, I know pattern recognition again, that like that I've seen how this movie ends. And instead of being angry at myself like I used to be, being able to think, I am grateful that that worked as long as it did. Or I am grateful that I stuck with that for as long as I did. And maybe I'll come back to it and maybe I won't, but I could have quit sooner.
Now, what practical difference did that make in your day-to-day life?
Well, it ended up turning into the anti-planner, which was pretty much a, well, what if instead of one system you have 100 systems? Um, and being able to have that flexibility, I think was the main thing, was that giving myself permission to pivot, because pivoting was part of the plan, uh, meant that I could lean into that novelty factor. I could lean into needing to do different things. And with the notable, I will say, caveat of my tendency to, oh, I'm going to figure out a new way to do things, and I'm going to spend all my time making that system instead of doing the things that I need to do to put inside that system. But, overcomplicating things is my favorite form of avoidance.
Now, a lot of listeners struggle with executive dysfunction, starting, finishing, organizing, all of it. How did you learn to work with your brain instead of constantly fighting it?
Um, I think that the making things entertain. So there are different kind of ways that, again, in the book, that I sort of leaned into the, like, how do I get over this particular roadblock of disorganization and stuff like that, and finding ways to make it fun and make it easy,
Mhm.
make it social, make it visual, and a lot of those things that came from ADHD coaching. I didn't know about ADHD coaching, and then once I kind of started, and the main thing that we started with is, okay, well, what's hardest? Let's pick one thing. Why is it hard? What is making it hard? Because that is the thing that we're going up against. And then what do we do about that? And that kind of mindset shift from, um, oh my God, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, into problem solving mode, and that confidence that comes from knowing that I am capable of working to solve my own problems, and that it is nobody else's job to fix my problems for me. That part's hard. I still struggle with that sometimes, where it's like, well, I can't do this because this other person isn't doing this. It's like, but I could do this to fix it, but I don't want to, because then I'd have to do more stuff.
Now, you've created the anti-planner. I'm curious, what was broken about traditional productivity systems for you?
I find that writing stuff down is one thing, and sometimes writing stuff down is enough to like get me to do it if it's not, sometimes if it's not going to take very long. There's plenty of things that don't take very long that I still don't want to do. Um, but most productivity things do not focus on troubleshooting the roadblocks of having a hard time doing the thing you wrote down. If I write in a planner, that's all well and good. But if what's happening is every day I'm flipping it over to a new page and I'm rewriting the same stuff that I didn't do the day before, all I'm
Hmm.
going to feel is shame. And so a lot of these systems set people up for those recurring shame cycles of, that end with, I'm a failure, I shouldn't even try. And that defeatist attitude, that I quit everything I start, that nothing actually really helps me, that nothing fits, that nothing, was really the motivation for, like, what can I make that would actually help me? And so I had initially started as making like an ADHD planner, but then I realized I was inventing all these weird strategies to get myself to work on that, and kind of looked at the pile and went, well, this is what I'm actually doing. I'm actually doing this, so maybe this is the answer. And realizing how much fun it is and how empowering it is to ask yourself, what would get me to do this? Instead of, oh, I have to do this. It's like, what could I do? Because then I'm going to feel accomplished when it happens.
I mean, what most people don't realize about those of us who have ADHD is we don't like structure. As
Yeah.
Jessica said, we are structure haters.
Structure, I barely know her. Sorry.
I mean, I remember watching one of her videos about using planners, and she's saying there, I use this one, and then I just put it away, and then I forget all about it. I use this
Yeah.
one, this is nice, and then days later she forgets all about it. Yours is very unstructured, but got it's segmented in ways that people need help because there are so many different problems that we deal with on the day to day, and people don't realize ADHD isn't just about being forgetful. No, there's so much more that goes on that we deal with internally.
hmm And like that feeling of not knowing what's wrong, I think is a big thing for people. And I don't have, I think it's called alexithymia. It's like where you have a difficult time identifying your own emotions. And so I have a pretty, um, but I've been in therapy for a while, so I've gotten good at that. That is a skill that I have honed. But I know that if you can't figure out what it is that's wrong, you can't figure out how to solve it. And so the way that I kind of think about the anti-planner, so much of the time is people say the word like, oh, it's a toolbox, but what does that actually mean? A toolbox is actually just full of solutions for how to fix specific problems. And when you look at things like, okay, if you've got a screw that you need to go into the wall, you could hit it with a hammer. You're not going to have a good time, and you might like break something. But if that's the same kind of thing of like, if you are intimidated by something, writing it on a to-do list is not going to solve that problem for you. Or if if you're intimidated by it, like this isn't going to help. But like if you can find the right tool, if you can find and even with screws, there's like different kinds of screwdrivers. And if you learn to identify what it is that the resistance that you're facing, then you can pick the right tool. And so that's really what I wanted to do was rather than just throwing a bunch of strategies at people and saying like, okay, have fun. Here's over 100 things to, activities and challenges and stuff to try. Now you're going to spend a bunch of time trying to figure out what to do to help yourself do the thing you need to do. And I've just given you a new way to procrastinate rather than having people figure out that like the first step really is to identify what's making it challenging. And once you can figure out again, like that resistance. So if you are struggling with, like lack of motivation, that is not the only reason why people put stuff off, but it is a reason. And
Mhm.
that is like having a dead battery, right? And if
Oh
you
yeah.
have a dead battery, you need jumper cables. You don't need a hammer. And so being able to figure out how do I reinvigorate this? How do I how do I get myself to spark back up again? Is what the challenge is. So it's really funny because when I think about what all of these sections kind of do look like, if I were to turn them into analogies for specific like actual resistances that actual tools are for, you find that the tools and the resistances are like the same,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. I'm big on metaphors, so it's been interesting to kind of stumble into this stuff like an emergent framework to know that I did not set out with the idea of like I want to make a feelings framework for executive dysfunction and instead went I need to figure out a way to sort these so people can find what they need and then realizing oh what people need is to understand themselves better
Yeah.
before they can even get started on the thing.
I mean, what I think what a lot of people don't realize is when we stare at a list and we see that same list without anything crossed off the next day, it feels like a defeat.
Yes.
And that just chisels that away at us. And by doing what you're doing with the anti-planners, it makes it easier. So you don't have lists, but you have ways to do it that make it fun and more inventive than just staring at a list and saying, I got to get this done. I got to
And
get this done.
some of the stuff is lit are lists, but they are sneaky lists that either like don't look like lists or they're like a much more helpful form of a list. And so like in the insecure section, there's like a to-do list, right? Which is not a which is something that I started doing and then I found out like is an actual like thing I think in the ADHD coaching community. Like some of this stuff is stuff I'm like I kind of stumbled into and then found out that other people have been doing it for a while. But I write down only the stuff I did that day and then I cross it off immediately. So I get to feel good about as soon as I finish something, I get to write it down and cross it off. But I don't have a list that has anything unchecked. There's only things that I did that day, and I include everything. You know, it's like I made lunch at home instead of going out. I took a shower. I fed the cats. I texted my mom happy birthday. And giving yourself credit for those like little victories is something that can help. But that's technically a list, or like in the perfectionistic
Hmm.
section, there's one called like how to half-ass it. And you take a project and break it down into its subtasks, but then you sort those into must-haves and nice-to-haves. You do all the must-haves of things that like without this it can't be considered complete. And if you have time, you go to the nice-to-haves. That's still a to-do list, but it's a much more helpful to-do list, and it's
Yeah.
extremely helpful if you are feeling perfectionistic, and that is what, the kind of strategy is.
Now, was creating the anti-planner about helping others or finally giving yourself permission to work differently?
Both. It started as the first, well, again, it started as I want to make something that worked for me because I had just started working for myself. I was making ADHD comics and I was doing a lot of this stuff to try to figure out some sort of structure for myself that worked for me because I didn't have a boss anymore. And it's very difficult to be your own boss when you have ADHD because there's all deadlines are made up deadlines for the most part, unless it's like some government thing you have to do or some like legal thing. It's for the most part, I could just keep putting things off and off and off, but that hurts me in the long term. And so I started things as like I did like a lot of theme weeks where I have a lot of money stuff I have to do and I'd make like finance week and I'd draw this really detailed cool illustration called finance week and I'd put 10 check boxes next to it. And I was like, I'm going to do 10 things related to finance this week. I don't care if those things are as small as I checked my Wells Fargo app and looked at my bank account balance, which is harder for me than it should be, all the way to, I did, yeah, say my taxes, like things, but I'm going to do 10 things. And then the next week I might do like, TikTok week. And the next week I might do, and then after a few weeks, it stopped working and that's okay because I've moved on to something else. And so it definitely started as a me thing and then transitioned into realizing, well, if it works for me, it's gonna work for other people.
Now, for someone listening who feels like planners never work for them, what's one thing they should stop trying to force?
Using a planner. I really think that if planners don't work for you, but you like buying planners and you have the money to do so, and you are not going to be angry and form like a bunch of negative self-beliefs about yourself, by all means, knock yourself out. The anti-planner actually I've heard helps people use their planners. They write their stuff down in their planner and then they use it to help them get the things done so they're not reusing the things over and over again. But it's one of the things where I think I would say if it's a tool that you find helpful, like use it until it no longer serves you. And then when it no longer serves you, let it go. Um, and find your own thing. And if it's buying a new planner because a new planner will give you brain chemicals because it's a new thing and you'll use that one for 3 months and then after 3 months you need to get a new planner. It's like if you've got the money, do what works for you.
Now, for someone listening who feels stuck, maybe overwhelmed, maybe disorganized, maybe just tired of trying systems that don't work, is there one exercise from the anti-planner that feels like a gentle entry point for them?
I was just talking to somebody about this. My favorite thing, and it's very easy and it costs like next to no money. So I've always loved Kanban boards, where you've got, to do, in progress, on hold, or like waiting and done. But and using post-it notes because it's very gratifying to move physical things around and I can't lose it under, it's not a planner that I closed and I put underneath a notebook and now I don't see it. It's not a digital thing that I minimized or I closed out of and now I don't see it. It is right there. But even in doing so, Kanban boards, oh, it's over on the side. I don't look over there enough and I don't see it. What I have found the most helpful is I'll take post-it notes and I will write with Sharpie a task, and the bottom of my computer monitor is to do. So that's where all of the post-it notes of things I need to do go. And there's only so many spots because the computer monitor is only so big. And when I start them, I move them from the bottom of my computer monitor over to the right. So the right side of my computer monitor is the in progress or the in progress items. And then if something goes to waiting, like I emailed somebody and I'm waiting to hear back, but this project isn't finished, but I can't do anything more on it, I move it over to the left side of my computer monitor. So that's the on hold and waiting. And then when something gets done, I put it up on the top, flip it over and stick it to the top. So that's all my done items. And so that's a Kanban board, but it is in a place that I will always see it because it is in the direction that I am always facing. So I cannot forget about it. And it costs post-it notes, which are very, very accessible to people. But even that, right? I don't use it forever. I might use it for one project. I might use it for a couple weeks, and then it slowly fades out into the background. As soon as it stops working, I take all the post-it notes down. I don't leave little shame reminders. Take them down, find something else, and then who knows how long, maybe it's another month, maybe I've got a new project. I whip it out and I start doing it again. And so that's definitely, I think, a easy enough entry points, which is pretty much write your tasks on post-it notes. And if you've got a computer monitor that you work at, it's helpful. If you don't have a computer monitor, a wall works fine, or something like that. But that's really my biggest thing is like make it visual and make it
Mhm.
very difficult to ignore.
And emotionally, what does that exercise give them? Is it clarity, relief, or permission?
I think the clarity comes from being able to see what the tasks are, so that you don't forget them and so that they stay top of mind. I think the permission part comes from um, the secondary like effect of when something stops working, don't try to force it to work anymore. Let it go, and if it comes back, let it come back. That is an act of self-forgiveness and again of expecting something to not work forever. So I think that's kind of the permission aspect of it.
Now, when you compare both before and after understanding your brain, what feels most different about how you see yourself?
Before and after what specifically?
Before and after ADHD, when you're
Okay.
comparing your brain.
I think I didn't used to see any of the strengths that came with it. We had talked about this briefly where it's challenging and I don't see it as like a superpower. I know there are people who that's how they view their own ADHD, and if that's how you view your ADHD, I am super happy for you. That's for a lot of people, it does not feel like that. And I was only able to really see a lot of the struggles. But even then, I didn't see this when I first got diagnosed. I didn't see the struggles. I just saw the end result, which was getting in trouble. And I just knew taking meds makes me not get in trouble, which was it was less of the what are the specific behaviors that are happening. And so I think that understanding my ADHD better made me so much better at developing coping mechanisms, so much so that I made a toolbox of coping mechanisms. But coping looks like, oh, it starts with awareness. And so I've got a TikTok about this that I made a long time ago about I was trying to make a TikTok about coping skills, and in the middle of my video about coping skills, I accidentally used a coping skill because I am in the room with my cats have like a water fountain and it makes a little bit of noise. And I was filming the TikTok, and then I noticed the little bit of noise happening. And I was like, oh, I don't want that in the TikTok. So I paused the video or stopped recording, unplugged it. But I knew in that moment, I've done this before. When I unplug this, I forget to plug it back in. And then I don't remember until my cats start meowing at me and I realize that they don't have water, right? And so I took a post. I love post-it notes. I took a post-it note and wrote cat water and I put it on my Red Bull, so that when I was done recording, I would see it and be like, oh, okay, like I'll do this. And that started with the knowledge of I have seen this movie before. I know how this ends. As soon as I went to go do it, I had that awareness factor of I can predict the outcome that is most likely to occur with me because I've been in this situation before. And so if you can then mitigate that with a what would make me remember to plug it in, I need something visual. I need it on a place that I'm going to definitely see again soon. And put that there. That is all a coping mechanism is the awareness and then the solve for that. So I think that prior to an ADHD diagnosis, I like did not think about the awareness factor and how much help that was going to be able to provide.
Now, when did you feel less alone in all of this?
Oh, the Jessica McCabe video for sure. Jessica's How to ADHD YouTube like was such a revelation is what it is, right? I just sat and binged and cried, and I saw the comments and the community, and so the online ADHD community that then started to build after, other content creators. And again, it's not. There was a community before I got here for sure. But being able to see this online community of people who felt so misunderstood coming together, because even if you don't know anybody in your town, even if none of your friends or none of your family, if you feel isolated and alone, there are now online spaces of people who understand. And when we post about our struggles, we post about things that are not highlight reels. Like everybody else is posting about highlight reels. And I'm like, oh my God, I have so many moldy coffee cups. And people are like, oh, me too. And it feels so good to not feel alone. And I think that the has reduced the shame about ADHD so much that so many people talk about ADHD now. And not just ADHD, autism. So many people talk about being neurodivergent now. People have it in their bios. That did not used to be a thing. This is now a thing that people are able to feel like part of their identity because it explains their world, how they experience the world. And that's such a huge portion of who it is. It's not like, oh, this is a medical condition. It's like this defines like everything about how I act and think and behave, and to finally have answers, and to find a community of people who just get it was such a big deal for me.
Now, now someone listening right now who feels broken. What would you want them to hear right now?
Oh, broken. Just you are not broken. It's so easy to hear people say stuff, and it's so hard to internalize things. I can sit here and I can say, like you are not broken, you are not lazy, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, but I know how difficult it is and how much work it takes to believe it. Um, and you believe it by tiny little acts that you do for yourself to build trust in yourself again. And you do it with tiny little acts of noticing when other people are treating you in ways that make you feel broken, that is like not okay. That you don't deserve to be treated like that for not living up to their expectations. And then slowly get to realize that I am not broken. Other people are just really rude, or like I am not broken. Other people are not asking for what they need and are keeping it to themselves. Like other people do stuff wrong also. And that doesn't mean they're broken. It just means that like they are not communicating things, and that is not always on you. So that kind of twofold of building trust back with yourself, through small acts of noticing when you do the things you say you're going to do. Or you think to yourself, I need a shower. And you get up and you go shower. You're like, look, I did it. Right? That doesn't feel like a lot, but I've been on the ground, I've been, where the bar is on the ground, then it feels easier to get past. And the realization of being able to notice, especially like ableism,
Mhm.
I was not able to clock that for a very long time. And now, especially online, I mean, there are some people who maybe go like a little far, but I would say that like ultimately, people's tolerance for putting up with being mistreated because of things that they're not doing on purpose, um, like the tolerance for that has gone way down, I think. So if you're feeling broken, um, consider what might be making you feel that way. So that awareness, Danny's answer to everything is awareness.
Now, what are you still discovering about yourself?
Ooh. God, so many things I'm not good at. Like I I was in like the gifted kid, and I'm using like gifted kid program, and that made me feel like that during this very like the formative years of my life of the expectation of like don't waste your potential and you are destined for great things like this like feeling that I sort of got um that that put those expectations on me along with my experiences of when I do stuff that I'm interested in, I'm often good at it pretty quickly. And so I got used to that kind of feeling. Now that I'm shifting into a phase of my life where I'm doing a lot of things I don't know how to do or that I don't want to do or I don't want to have to learn how to do. Um, and I'm not good at it. And therefore, I've like lost a lot of my confidence and operating from a place of insecurity makes everything harder and worse. And so, sort of trying to figure out and navigate how do I build that confidence back at things that I'm not good at? How do I take an interest in improving stuff that isn't my area of interest is got to be big.
And finally, where can people find out more about you and reach you online?
So my website with my ADHD comics is adhdd.com. It's ADHD with DD, which are my initials after it. Antiplanner.com is where you can see the book, and there's a bunch of digital PDF bundles that are on sale right now. And then I uh, am at Dani Donovan on like all of the platforms. So that's DaniDonovan. And I'm really, really excited that we got to have this conversation because this was fun. You ask a lot of questions that I have not been asked before on podcasts, and I've been on some podcasts, so this was great.
And I just finally want to say that was Danny Donovan on Read Miles. Stay curious, stay fearless, and remember, wherever you are tonight, you're never alone. I'll see you on the next time. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.